it's almost like an alter ego kind of a thing.
I was going to legally do it, and then over the years, I enjoy having two names because Jeffrey Nugent can do certain things for me, and Jim Jefferies can do certain things for me. Because there's a lot of people that don't like Jim Jefferies, right? And that might put me behind for things that I've said, right? And so I could go into certain when I go down to the kids' school. Let's go back to the old name. Don't worry what I do for a living. Don't Google me. You're fine.
That's funny.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Does it give you a little power? Like when you became Jim Jefferies, did it give you a little bit of a
It gives you a
fresh start?
It gives you a little bit of a, yeah, I had a, what I consider to be a rough childhood, and I think I wanted a fresh start. I wanted to be a different person.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be, I wasn't cool at school. And I wasn't, and then I think that Jim Jefferies was a cool guy, or at least in my head he was.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I remember, like, my mother was a school teacher at my school, and that was a living hell. That was just a horrible thing because she was a 300-pound angry person. She was the teacher that everyone fucking, that woman like that.
Oh, God.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And then you're trying to, like, meet girls, and my mum was a substitute teacher, but she was the number one substitute teacher they called. So inevitably, every day there was a sick school teacher.
Sure.
Every day.
Yeah.
Occasionally you wouldn't get one. So every day. So your day would be good, but you'd never know where she'd pop up. At least if she was a regular teacher, they wouldn't have put me in her classes.
Right.
That's a conflict that they wouldn't have put me in her classes.
Oh, so you were in her.
But you would just show up, you'd be having a good day, you'd be talking to a girl, you show up at fucking wood shop. There's a 300-pound woman with a hammer. Right? Like,
and the girl you're with is like, oh boy, and you're like, I know. It's my mom.
And so that was always a tough, and also my mother was just a really fucking hard human being. And so
was she hard to you?
Oh, I hospitalized with being hit. Yeah, my mother, by today's standards, if social service, I would have grown up in the foster care system.
Really?
If they found out, yeah. She
really young?
Oh, yeah. And
really?
So I can't understand, because I always thought that all parents sort of hit their kids, and I know it was more prevalent in the 70s and 80s, but I look at my kids now, and how did she flog a 5-year-old?
Yeah.
And
it's mind-blowing, right?
How did she do it? I look at my 2-year-old now, I can't. She would, at that age, backhand me across the room, across the face, bang, like that at 2, 3 years old, right?
God.
And I look at my kid now and I'm like, he's breaking things.
Yeah.
He's 2. He just broke that vase.
Right.
I'm going to have to move on.
Right, exactly.
Right? I'm going to have to move on. And I've got a terrible temper to this day. You know, I've inherited that, but I don't consider myself a violent person. Probably more when I was younger, I had more of a thing to me, but now I'm pretty mellow with all that.
If you had kids when you were younger, do you think it would have been harder to control?
Because I pushed, but all 3 of my brothers with their parents, it hasn't continued on.
That's
and my
great.
father's,
I wonder why.
My father's quite a gentleman.
Okay.
And so having him, you sort of went, okay, well, there's another way to go.
Yeah.
And I was a bit resentful towards him as younger because he didn't do enough to stand up for us. I don't think. And then I look back on my mother's childhood and what she went through, and it's not my personal details to pass on, and I sort of get it.
Yeah.
I sort of get,
that was going to be my question. It always happens that way.
Hurt people.
Yeah.
Right? That's the so
I mean, to think about, like, for her to look at a little 2-year-old and do that, something's really she is really hurt.
Yeah. She was very angry or something. There was something that we were stopping from her life, or there's resentment or something.
Yeah.
But anyway, so when I was in school, and I look back on this now, I did a post about this the other day because they're trying to raise the age of social media in Australia to 16. At the moment, it's 13. They're trying to raise it to 16 because of the suicides and the bullying and all that type of stuff. Yeah. And I sort of said, look, if the amount of bullying that I received at school, if I couldn't get home and then this woman's getting into me, I needed relief from something.
Yeah.
I need relief from that. If I had that plus that, and I couldn't escape it, and then my Christmas holiday break, I still fucking have to see, or summer break, I have to see fucking all the parties I wasn't invited to.
Yeah, and the nice vacations that everyone's on.
Yeah, things like that. If I had to see that, that would have done me in.
Yeah.
That would have been the final straw. So I put this post up, and I said, I had it hard at home, hard at school, and I if I had to blow, it's basically what I just told you.
Yeah.
And then there was a couple of people I went to school with who reached out, and they were like, "Wait a minute, you didn't have it. You weren't bullied at school." And I go, "But my experience wasn't your experience." And I think that everyone must feel a little bit of, because we're only walking in our own shoes. And then I think back to I was dealing with having no mates, fucking a mum that was yelling at me in the school ground, like telling me off about things at home, fucking getting flogged at home all the fucking time, not being allowed out. I was not allowed out of the house, not being allowed to choose my own hobbies. My mother was so controlling that I collected teddy bears as a kid, and I was made to learn the fucking flute, mate. Right? Made to learn the fucking flute,
the
right?
Coolest thing I've heard.
Yeah. You're a 13-year-old boy. All you want to do is make girls, and that's why, like this, I might get in trouble for saying this, but my mother desperately wanted a daughter. Desperately wanted a daughter. Started collecting dolls at the moment I was born because I was the final shot at it.
Oh, really? Yeah, two brothers.
And I only found this out recently from the dad that the doll collecting happened when the day I was born. When I was born, my mother didn't hold me for 2-3 days. True, 2-3 days, and then for a couple of months didn't change a diaper because she didn't want to see the penis.
Oh man!
Right. So mental ill. We were dealing with someone with mental illness.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And so then she went crazy and started collecting dolls. Started collecting more dolls, and the house was filled with fucking dolls.
Jeez,
right?
Yeah.
And also my mother had Munchausen's.
Oh man.
I won't speak on what happened to my brothers because it was pretty horrific as well. But we were overdiagnosed with medical things. My mother went doctor shopping, and we had every attention deficit disorder and all these different things, and different and like really drastic things where she would say we're sick and all that type of stuff, so she would get more sympathy because my mother had polio as a child. Which makes me, my wife is 33, right? So I'm 13 years older than my wife. It's nothing silly, right? Yeah. But when I say that, my mother had polio. It makes me feel like I'm 100.
Right, exactly.
Right. So she had polio. So my belief is, and I'm just being a sideline psychiatrist, my belief is that that's when people visited her. And that's when people saw her. It was through illness.
Right.
Because she wasn't a particularly likable person and she didn't have any friends, but then everyone came and visited her because she was on death's door.
Right.
And so right up until my mother died, she would find ways of being in hospital. My mother was in hospital at least a month every year.
Jeez.
Every year of my life. And every Christmas, she would make a speech and tell us that this was the last Christmas and that she would be dead by the next year. So I was in a constant state as a child, this person who hit me believing that this was a dying human being.
Right.
And she lived to be fucking almost 80.
Jeez.
Right? And 300-pound 80-year-old. You don't fucking see them around. They're fucking a rarity. I tell you. She must have had a good inner system to be that fucking big.
And she let everything out. She didn't keep anything in.
Oh, yeah. No, maybe that's the healthiness. So,
jeez.
What was my point here? What was my point? So the thing and the medicine and okay. So by the time I got to university, I had very low self-esteem about myself. I thought I was a bit of a fucking dickhead and I was unlikable and that no one would ever want to be my friend because she would say that to me. She'd say to me and my brothers that we were the reason she couldn't have friends because we were such bad kids. That no one wanted to be friends with her because of who we were. Oh, man. And so you carried that around like, what a piece of shit I am. I'm a terrible piece of shit, right?
How deep was that? How deep was that feeling of I'm a piece of shit?
It's still there.
Yeah.
Still there. That one's hard because your mother told you you're a piece of shit all the time, right? But then I went to university. I was studying musical theatre and everyone liked me. And I was with these theatre-y kids, so I wasn't with the jocks that I didn't fit in with or whatever.
Yeah.
But I got along with everybody. Not only that, I was the funniest cunt at fucking university.
Right.
Everyone's like, this guy's the funniest guy ever, right? And that's when I was like, I can do stand-up comedy. Wow. I can do it. And then it was like becoming Jim Jefferies was like, I'm a new bloke.
Wow.
And was pushing the past behind me. That was a very long answer for a very short question.
It's brilliant. I mean, did you have the idea that you were funny before then?
I have two brothers and one brother who's a cop and terribly nice man, not funny. And I have another sibling who is as funny as me, and me and him egged each other on. And we had all the same mental problems, but I know he's funny and he knew I was funny.
Right.
And so I had enough of that. But I also, at school, I was doing zingers, man. I was in the back of the class. I was being really funny.
Yeah.
My other brother, who was being picked on just as much as, more so than I was,
right.
He used to talk so much in class and all that stuff that the school teacher said to him, and I remember being jealous because that was the job I wanted. The school teacher said to him, if you don't talk all week in my class, here's the last class on Fridays, we'll end 5 minutes, 10 minutes earlier, and you can do a review of the week. Right? So this lady basically offered him stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
And so my brother would do impersonations of teachers and this, like that. And it got to the stage where the class next door would also come in to watch.
Wow.
So he was much worse bullied than me, right? He was physical and everything, right? And that was like his thing. And I remember thinking, but I'd already wanted that as a job, and he's going to fucking do it. And everyone's going to think that. And then he didn't want to do it, or he didn't pursue it or anything like that. So by the time I was 17, 18, I was single. Like, I want to be a comedian.